We now call the meeting to order. Thank you everyone for joining us. We now have the budget review for 2025. And Mr. Russell, I now turn it over to you, sir.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've just got a couple items to go over with the budget. You've had this for 2 or 3 weeks now, and at the public hearing last Monday, there was limited input on some of the recommendations we've had. We're currently trying to do more with less, like most communities, with dealing with inflation. There's a lot of unknowns out there with impacts of future tariffs or proposed tariffs. We've seen an increase in labor cost, material cost, just overall operational expense from all of our utilities. Labor, we noticed we'll realize a very large increase to our health coverage for the year. I think the final number that we settled on was a 17% increase from Blue Cross Blue Shield. But again, the overall proposed budget comes in at $146 million. And this is slightly inflated, or this number is slightly higher, or I want to clarify why that number is where it is. We've historically been around 110, 115 million from an operational standpoint. Once we received the $33 million in legislative appropriation for the airport, that, from a capital budget standpoint that carries over several fiscal years, remains in our budget. So that $33 million, even though we've spent the majority of it at this point, still reflects in this budget. But our operational costs have been relatively static. We haven't seen any huge increases. We've seen increases in cost, but we've done a great job of prioritizing expenditures, making cuts where necessary, and being as efficient as possible with all the money that we are allocated each year. Again, within this budget, I will touch on just a few points. We have a 2.8% cost of living allowance, and then this is based on the Southeast region. It's the number we use every year for our COLA. As part of the revaluation from the county reassessment of property values basically means the total revenue may shift, impacting taxpayers differently based on their individual valuations. This is kind of a complex formula. Some remain more static, some saw more significant changes, but when plugging all of this information into how we collect taxes for both real property and vehicle tax, that's kind of a complex formula that we look at. But again, the county reassessment caused our tax rate to be pushed down. We were at a 50 cents per $100 in valuation rate. What we are recommending is 48.5 cents.
Where were we?
At 58
Oh,
cents.
you said 50 cents.
No, 58 cents.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. So we see roughly a 10-cent reduction in our tax rate on the collection. But again, this affects every taxpayer differently. It's an averaging series. It would be equivalent to looking at the standard household income for the county. That provides a number, and that gives us a good average, but there are people that make more, and there are people that make less. It's the same way whenever the county does a revaluation. Some homeowners are impacted more than others. Some remain more static, some increase at a larger rate. The city of Washington, when looking at Beaufort County overall, fluctuated less than the majority of the county. You saw some other areas of the county where you saw larger increases, but here, again, some property values did go up significantly, but on overall average, in comparison to the county, the variation was less than most other homeowners or property owners. But again, we've adjusted the tax rate downward as the reclassification of property values alters the revenue landscape. It may result in varied financial impacts across the community. So with our proposed tax rate at 48.5, you will see a variety of treatments on that for each homeowner. But at the current recommendation, I think it sticks to a lot of the focus that council has discussed about increasing public safety. 3 years ago, council made a commitment to provide 2 EMS units to the county. Not to the county, to the city. At the request, we were calling out too much, or we were getting spread too thin with the staffing that we had, and it was too great of a burden to do in 1 year. So we kind of established a long-range plan to hire 4 paramedics that would allow us to run 2 EMS units 24/7. But the best way to do that with the least amount of impact on our tax rate and operational budget was to hire 4 per year. We're in year 3. We do have 4 additional paramedics in this budget that would allow us to fully operate 2 trucks. The second truck recently was delivered a month or 2 ago, so the timing it's all kind of coming together on the 3-year plan, and we'll see better coverage for our citizens, and even providing some coverage through mutual aid on the perimeter of our city limits. Also, as part of this budget, we will reinstate 4 additional patrol officers, so that will increase police presence through patrol and visibility within the community. So I think that will be an added benefit. But outside of that, just with your standard COLA, reestablishing your tax rate at 48.5 cents, where you see the rate reduction from the existing 58 cents that we currently have, and then the focus on public safety. Those are probably the 3 high points of the budget. Again, we're trying to do more with less. I think we've done really well working with the department heads to find efficiencies wherever possible, and identify savings. Utility rates overall will remain relatively static. We do have some multipliers by council policy for base rates on water and sewer. We'll have some minor changes on that. The electric rate will remain unchanged. Solid waste and recycling and leaf and limb collection will remain unchanged. And overall, just our day-to-day operations, it's a budget tightening year. There are a lot of outside variables with the revaluation and unknowns on how it will affect the community, but I think council's done a really good job of being aware of that, cognizant of any decisions we make financially that affect taxes, how that may affect our citizens. So I think I commend council on that. That's never an easy decision. But at this point, those were really the high points of it. We have some infrastructure improvements where we're doing some road resurfacing. We're improving some pedestrian facilities, making some sidewalk repairs throughout the community. I think in this current budget, we see roughly $1.5 million allocated to that. 1.3 million in utility upgrades and water and sewer. The upcoming year, we'll see the AMI project really kick off, which is a very large project that affects your water, sewer, and electric. Overall, that's going to be just under $9 million. That's spread over a couple of fiscal years, but we'll provide a service to all of our customers, and we'll allow them to interact more with their energy consumption as well as water and sewer utility consumption. We'll have to really focus on making sure that we, as a city, educate the consumer on that, make sure they're utilizing all the new technology as much as they can. I think that'll be a challenge that we can, that we gladly accept, but we want the citizens to be aware of some of the new features that the new metering system will have. But again, we'll focus on public safety, infrastructure improvement, and economic development while being conservative overall. If there are any questions, I know that was kind of quick on covering a few things, but public safety, I think, is the biggest focus or the theme of this budget moving forward. But again, we want to maintain services at a very high level, and provide a variety of offerings through our parks and recreation offerings, senior center, library, several other things that we provide to the community. We still continue to fund those fully. There's no significant cuts or reductions that we are seeing from a level of service that we're providing.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments from council, from Mr. Russell?
I have a couple questions.
Yes, sir.
With the focus on public safety, the reinstatement of the 4 positions, with that reinstatement, is the salary comparable to surrounding areas with those 4, or are we still short there, or what?
They're comparable. I would say in the last 2 or 3 years, we have really, as part of our salary study that we completed roughly a year ago, and have implemented in 2 phases. That has really brought us up to a competitive level within the region. I think prior to that, we were looking at a lot of communities our size, but the geographic region may be different. I mean, Tarboro was relatively close, but we were just focusing on the communities of 10,000. And that provides one set of data, but where we are, we're competing with Greenville and New Bern and other larger communities. So I think as part of the salary study, we upped a lot of areas where we are more competitive.
So, my next question, and I just want to put this out there. On the next priority of infrastructure and improvements, with the budget, with the allocation within the budget for street resurfacing, sidewalk repairs, and expansion of pedestrian facilities, that is separate and apart from 15th Street, correct?
Yes, that's,
And not to ask that question in a leading way, is that separate and apart from 15th Street, or is that what we have to bring forward as a city to get the 15th Street project moving forward? Like, does this have anything to do with 15th Street?
no, not at all. That's just what we've listed in there. Sidewalk repairs where tree roots may create trip hazards. This 1.5 million is completely separate from anything to do with 15th Street. This is some expansion. The expansion of pedestrian facilities is just a fancy way of saying we might pour some more sidewalks. We've got some areas and some connecting pieces that we need to add in, that we've got a list that we've kind of worked through. We've got some areas that have been damaged by heavy trucks or tree roots that have created trip hazards. Some street resurfacing. Again, we've done a condition survey that we have citywide, and that kind of prioritizes areas that need repair or some maintenance at a bare minimum just to maintain what we have. But again, that 1.5 is sprinkled throughout the city, but is not connected to 15th Street.
That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Are there any questions or comment from council? Okay. And we don't have anyone from the public here this evening, so there'll be no questions from the public, because no one is here. Okay. At this time, I'll turn it over to council, and what's council pleasure on this item?
Mr. Mayor, I move the City Council adopt the budget ordinance for fiscal year 2025 to 2026. Set the 2025 Alberm tax rate at 0.485 per 100,000 value, and set the user fee schedule included in the appendix of the budget.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Are there any discussions? Okay. Being no discussions, all in favor to the motion, please your right hand. Okay. All are in favor? Okay, thank you. Are there any other items this evening? If not, we need to entertain a motion to adjourn until July the 14th, 2025 at 5:30 p.m. in the City Council chamber. Okay, okay, we have a motion by Councilman Brooks, second by Councilman Pitt. All in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, we're now adjourned. Thank you.